It was the debut the fashion world had been waiting for. Pierpaolo Piccioli, the maestro of modern romance, the man who made Valentino synonymous with colour and grace, stepped into the house of Balenciaga for spring 2026. A collision of legacies, a meeting of couture and rebellion, and in true Piccioli form, it began not with spectacle, but with silence. A single idea distilled into one radical point of reference, the sack dress of 1957. Cristobal Balenciaga's sack dress was a revolution in its time, a rejection of the waist, the corset, the hourglass silhouette that Christian Dior had revived a decade earlier. Straight up and down, architectural, defiant. In 1957, it was scandalous. In 2026, in Piccioli's hands, it was divine. The first look was a study in radical simplicity. A long black V-neck evening dress, unfitted through the top, its fabric falling in a straight, unbroken line. The model's white opera gloves gleamed against the darkness, her face half hidden behind enormous sunglasses. A woman who refuses to explain herself. That was the message. This was Piccioli's homage to Balenciaga's essence. Radical, intelligent restraint. Minimalism made maximal. But from that moment of stillness, colour and volume began to bloom. The collection unfolded like a series of visual crescendos. Luscious shapes swelling and retreating, silhouettes expanding into airy sculptural forms. A cocoon coat reimagined in vivid green, its shape a whisper of Cristobal's originals, but executed with Piccioli's unmistakable softness. Then came a magenta trapeze dress with a puffed ruffle hem, so buoyant it seemed to float. Piccioli's Balenciaga woman was both grounded and ethereal, a study in contradiction. One-shouldered red dresses trailed asymmetric scarves that spiraled as they moved. Tunics reappeared, shown over narrow cigarette pants, calling back to Balenciaga's architectural purity while speaking to the modern woman's desire for ease. And then there were the details, the quiet revolutions of tailoring that only Piccioli could make thunderous. Chinos cut with couture precision, seams sculpting the leg like a column. A bomber jacket transformed into a leather bubble, echoing the famous Balenciaga balloon lines of the 1950s. An oversized white shirt that cascaded into a train, business undone, elegance unrestrained. Every piece spoke of ease, but none of it was casual. What Piccioli did here was subtle, even sly. He didn't attempt to erase Balenciaga's recent past. The sharp darkness of Demna's street-infused era still lingered in the attitude, in the oversized scale, in the almost cinematic confidence of the silhouettes. But he shifted the lens. He took Balenciaga back to its source, couture purity, and reinterpreted it through his own romantic vocabulary. Colour, of course, played its signature role. Emerald, crimson, fuchsia, hues that felt lifted from a Renaissance painting. Yet nothing screened. The palette breathed, restrained by shape and shadow. In place of logos and irony, there was craftsmanship, the kind that whispers rather than shouts. By the time the final look appeared, a sculptural column dress with a curved back, reminiscent of Cristobal's 1960s experiments with volume, the audience understood. This was not nostalgia. This was renewal. Piccioli's debut at Balenciaga was not about merging two worlds, but creating a new one entirely. He brought his couture eye, his poetic sensibility, and his profound respect for fashion history, and applied it to one of the most radical legacies in fashion. He made the straight line emotional. He made restraint romantic. In a time when excess often feels like the only language fashion speaks, Pierpaolo Piccioli's Balenciaga whispered something different. That the most daring thing a designer can do is to return to purity. To craft beauty that feels inevitable. To understand that sometimes the future is hidden inside a dress from 1957. This was Balenciaga reborn, minimal and maximal, intellectual and sensual, disciplined yet deeply human. Pierpaolo Piccioli didn't just pay homage to the founder, he spoke his language, fluently, reverently, and then wrote a new chapter of his own.